code over the thing. I said, the camera's there. I believe, my recollection is she was there, turned a bit, like talking to him. So I think she was hit in the right armpit. But this is all I know, and that is that I take the gun out in the rehearsal. Really, he wants it very dramatic and very sort of kind of sneak up on them. I take the gun out, and as I take, like as it clears, as the barrel clears, the whole turn and cock the gun in rehearsal. I turn and cock the gun goes off. It's supposed to be a cold gun. Nothing. No flash charges, nothing.
Well, the gun didn't just go off. Like, you have to do something to a gun for it to fire. And I think from the beginning, Alec Baldwin said, my finger wasn't on the trigger. So that may be a point of contention. His trial's scheduled to come up next month, Alec Baldwin, and it's a homicide. If he's found guilty, he'll likely go to at least jail. There's always a chance that there could be a plea deal last minute, but I don't know if Alec Baldwin would ever admit to a crime. I mean, from the beginning, he is pointing the finger in other directions, always away from himself. But two other people have been convicted. Two other people that touched the gun. The armorer, the assistant director, and he's the one who had the gun in his hand when it went off and killed Helena Hutchins. So the big question that I have anytime I talk to this story to anyone is like, well, why on earth was there a live round on the set? And where on earth did it come from? Why would anyone bring a live round to a movie set? There's no reason for a live round to be anywhere near a movie set. And I think that's the most shocking part for people. Well, we saw the trial of Hannah Gutierrez, the armor, here on Court TV. And we've seen some of the photos, some of the evidence. Right here you have, there was a live round that was found in a dummy ammo box. Now, the dummy rounds are the ones that look like live rounds, almost look like a live round. They don't, blanks look much different than dummies and live rounds. Live rounds and dummies look very similar, and the blanks look much different. And in this case, there's one that was in a dummy box, a live round. You can see the slight differences in if there's an indentation, but really what we learned in the trial is you got to pick it up and shake it. You shake it to each one individually to see if it's a live round or a dummy. There was also apparently a live round found on Alec Baldwin's ammo belt that he's wearing, and that's what you're looking at here. So the live round that was in the gun apparently wasn't the only one. So where did these live rounds come from? Well, Hannah Gutierrez spoke to investigators, as everyone did, after the tragic death of Helena Hutchins, and here's what she said in one of her police interviews.
How would you say that a live round got in this box that you pulled from?
I'm not entirely sure if someone put a live round into that box or not. I checked those to the best of my abilities. I was walking in, shaking it in my ear, and I thought I heard it shake for sure.
When do you think somebody would have had the opportunity to put a live round?
It's hard to speculate on that exactly, but, that gun, it was on Alex most of the day, and then also it was on top of our cart sometimes too, and there were times when I was gone to the bathroom, and like I said, I got a key, and I tell the girls to watch the cart and everything, but sometimes the girls get distracted by the actors.
This was a question that really wasn't answered at Hannah Gutierrez's trial, but at the end of it, I was like, I still don't know. Like, there's potential theories out there, but how did this live round get there? So I want to bring in a guest who knows a lot more than I do about all this. Our special guest, the attorney who represents Hannah Gutierrez, Jason Bowles, is with us. Jason, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
Okay, so where did these live rounds come from? I mean, a live round should not be anywhere near a movie set. I think everyone agrees with that. So this is still a mystery to me. What do you have a theory?
We have a theory. It's still a mystery because the state never fully investigated it. Here's the problem, Vane. This was the biggest question at the outset of the case in the case. And early on, the DA called it a red herring. So the sheriff did not fully investigate it. Now, they did a search warrant at PDQ Props. The search warrant laid out that these reloaded live rounds began with Joe Swanson. They then went to Troy Teskey, Thel Reed. Then they went to the 1883 set where Thel Reed and Seth Kenney had them to train actors offsite on the set. After the 1883 set, which was before the Rust movie, Seth Kenney took possession of those reloaded 45 long cold rounds. So at that point, we know that the primary supplier to the Rust film had the 45 long cold live rounds. We also know he returned to New Mexico on October 12th, and he said that he supplied the set a new box of dummy 45 long cold ammunition. October 12th is about the time the prosecutor says these pictures began showing live rounds on the set. Now, here's the problem. The sheriff never did DNA testing. They never did fingerprint testing on those live rounds. So they never ran that down. After the search warrant at PDQ Props, they then dropped that whole line of inquiry and didn't investigate it further. So we have an opportunity now, and we have a new piece of evidence that's been turned over to the sheriff's office, and to date, they haven't looked at it. And that is Troy Teskey, who is a magistrate judge, very credible individual, and the picture is on the screen now. These are the rounds that he had from the same batch. Now you can see there are 5 of them with silver primers. Those 5 silver primers, I believe, match what was found, the live rounds on the set of Rust. Those rounds, Troy Teskey, again, he was a longtime police officer in Bullhead City, magistrate judge, very credible. He turned those over to the sheriff the last day of Hannah's trial. And he said, here are rounds from the same batch. These need to be tested by the FBI. They need to see if they match the live rounds on set. And then we can connect those, as I've said, through the chain that I talked about. But once again, Benny, they have not done this step in the investigation. That's what we're dealing with.
Okay, so let's break this down for folks. So a lot of names thrown out there. I know you know the case inside out. So Troy Teskey is a man, that's the photo we're looking at. And what you're saying is those live rounds that he has, why does he have these live rounds first?
He was storing those for Thel Reed, and these were Thel Reed's that he had from Joe Swanson. And these are rounds that they use to either just shoot or to train actors offset on shooting.
Okay, so he's holding these, and the question is, the rounds that are there, the ones with the silver primer, are they the same, from the same batch as the one that struck and killed Helena Hutchins? That's the, and that can
Absolutely.
be, you believe that can be forensically determined?
I believe it can. They're from the same batch. I believe the FBI has the capability to test the powder, and not just whether it's single base or double base like they did at trial, but test what type of powder is in it. Is it Trail Boss? What type of powder is used in them? That way they can match. Were these created by Joe Swanson? Were they reloaded by him? Did they go through Thel Reed and Troy Teskey and get to Seth Kenney? That's the investigation that needs to be done now to connect these up.
Okay, so if this theory pans out, if everything you're saying turns out to be true, how does it then get onto the set of Rust and into Alec Baldwin's gun?
Well, Seth Kenney testified at trial on October 12th. He delivered a new box of 45 long colt dummies. Now, he said they were dummies. He said he shook them all, but he's got 45 long colt in his possession that are live as well. Now, we saw pictures in the trial from his shop, his office, and I wouldn't call that the paragon of order. It was complete disarray. So I do not know exactly how they got there, but my theory is these came on through negligence or accident in that box. And it's just never been tested. It's never been connected up because they didn't want to. They had an easy target in Hannah, and that's what they wanted to do.
So if these other people are involved in the chain of providing live rounds in a box that is marked dummy rounds, and they're the ones to deliver it, what does that mean towards Hannah Gutierrez and Alec Baldwin, does that absolve them of their role, or does it just add more people who should be held responsible for this?
I think that's an incredibly good question. And the question is, as a prosecutor, are you going to charge everybody? Are you going to say everybody committed a crime here? Or are you going to say this is a tragic accident caused by a number of mistakes of numerous people? And that's what I think it was. I think it was a tragic accident. Even get to Baldwin. Mr. Baldwin, then, he didn't know that there were live rounds in that firearm. There's not a person on that set that knew there were live rounds. The prosecutor said that. You don't have to take my word for it. So we're dealing with a situation where people make mistakes, and that's a civil case. That's a lawsuit. That is not a reckless case of criminal liability. A reckless case is a much higher standard.
So in tracing where the live round came from, are people talking at all? Because you mentioned a lot of names. Are these people talking? Are they avoiding? Is anyone taking responsibility? Are people cooperating? Or are people trying to shoo you away and shoo everyone away from figuring out? Because I'm with you. That was the first question and probably the most important question. How does a live round get on a movie set, on a Western, where there are rounds everywhere and every actor is carrying guns and holding guns and pretending to fire guns?
Absolutely, Benny. It is the most important question. And you have to answer that to get to the truth, to get to what really happened. If we're going to do justice for the whole case, you got to answer that question. So to answer your other question, yes, Del Reed's willing to talk. Troy Teskey's willing to talk. They have been from day one. The sheriff has never wanted to have them. The prosecutors never wanted to have their story. So they haven't followed up on it. Troy Teskey offered those rounds that you showed earlier in the picture, offered them up to the state and said, come get them. I've got them. Well, finally, he brought them to Hannah's trial. Nobody wanted them. So finally, he took them to the sheriff at the end of the trial. Because I'm going to say again, I don't think they wanted to get to the full truth, which is what we're all trying to do, to have justice in the case. But they didn't want to do that because Hannah was an easy target. And again, if you're trying to prosecute Mr. Baldwin for what I do not believe is a crime, a reckless standard is somebody gets drunk, gets behind the wheel. They know that if they hurt somebody, they knew what they were doing. That's not what happened. Nobody knew there was a live round on that set or in that firearm. Mr. Baldwin didn't commit a crime either. But let's get to the truth and find out what really happened. That's what we've been begging them to do for 2 years.
All right, Jason Bolt's going to stay with us.
My heart goes out to the film industry for the devastating pain that this tragedy caused and the old wounds that have been reopened. I am saddened by the way the media sensationalized our traumatic tragedy and portrayed me as a complete monster, which has actually been the total opposite of what's been in my heart. Your Honor, when I took on Rust, I was young and I was naive, but I took my job as seriously as I knew how to. Despite not having proper time, resources, and staffing, when things got tough, I just did my best to handle it.
Hannah Gutierrez was convicted, sentenced to 18 months. And I think that's what Alec Baldwin is looking at as he gets ready for his trial next month. But in a very interesting twist to all of this, it appears that the state who prosecuted Hannah Gutierrez now wants her to testify against Alec Baldwin. How's that going to work? Well, the state wants to give her use immunity for her testimony. Take a look. Request this court grant use immunity to witness Hannah Gutierrez. And as grounds state follows, Ms. Gutierrez would testify that Mr. Baldwin was inattentive during firearms training session that she conducted with him. She would testify that Mr. Baldwin was a producer and had the freedom to do whatever he wanted, and the other producers had to reel him in all the time. Mr. Baldwin would become upset and have emotional fits. Mr. Baldwin was not supposed to be cocking the gun or pulling the trigger during the rehearsal when the gun went off. And that's a good outline, it appears, of the prosecution's case and theory against Alec Baldwin. So let's bring back in Jason Bowles, because he's the attorney for Hannah Gutierrez. This isn't a plea deal, is it? This is just, we're going to subpoena you and give you use immunity and make you testify?
And that's the unfairness of it, just what you just said. So there was never a plea deal offered to Hannah throughout this case, like there was to David Halls, the assistant director, for a misdemeanor. There was to Mr. Baldwin for a misdemeanor. There was a felony plea deal offered to Hannah for the same that she got convicted at trial. So now, after having been convicted at trial, sentenced to 18 months, the prosecution doesn't want to offer her anything, but they want to force her, compel her to testify against Baldwin. And they're predicting in their motion what she might say, although they've never talked to her. Because when they tried to interview her, Hannah invoked her Fifth Amendment privilege, as she is entitled to do. Because not only is she facing an appeal, Vinny, she's also been charged with a separate crime by the special prosecutor for bringing a gun into a bar in Santa Fe. So that's yet another charge that they are trying to pin on her. So again, the unfairness is really complete.
Well, can she be compelled to testify? I mean, is that going to happen at Alec Baldwin's trial? Because that testimony that they outlined there seems to be like a crucial part of their case.
I think it would be. Now, she hasn't talked to Hannah, the special prosecutor, so she doesn't know what she's going to say. She will testify truthfully. Now, the judge, under the rules, if the judge grants this motion, can compel someone to testify over her Fifth Amendment privilege. However, that's in a normal case. This is a high-profile case, and I want to make the point at that hearing that whatever she says, it's going to be all over the news, all over the media, and jurors are going to hear it. She's got another charge pending for bringing a gun into a bar. She's got her appeal. This is not the normal case where you force somebody to testify, which the judge can, and then it still protects her. So I don't think it's going to protect Hannah. And we're going to assert her Fifth Amendment privilege.
Now, there's been another development relative to Alec Baldwin with his upcoming trial. This morning, he announced on his Instagram page that his family is launching a new reality show, The Baldwins. Let's take a look.
Hi, I'm Ilaria Baldwin.
And I'm Alec Baldwin.
And we have an announcement to make.
Good God, no.
No, definitely not. We're done having kids. Bye.
Sit down.
Oh. This is about our show.
We're inviting you into our home to experience the ups and downs, the good, the bad, the wild, and the crazy. Home is the place we love to be most. You say we are the Baldwins. We are the Baldwins.
No, we are the Baldwins. We all gotta say it.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
We are the Baldwins.
Now, it's a lot of mouths to feed, so I understand why he continues to work and work and work. But what are your thoughts about Alec Baldwin continuing to work, continuing to speak, make statements, and now a reality show, all while homicide charges are pending against him?
Well, and I would not, if I were representing Mr. Baldwin, advise it. However, he does have a family. He does have responsibilities. Again, I don't think any of these individuals that have been charged committed the crimes that the prosecutor has charged them with. You don't want defendants to speak during the pendency of the proceedings. I think that's pretty standard. But I really can't comment on it. I don't represent Mr. Baldwin. I wish him the best and his family.
Let me ask you this, though.
Locally,
how do you think his celebrity plays inside the courtroom?
I think it's going to be a factor. I think, people in Santa Fe obviously know who he is. I think that is going to be a factor in the trial that was different than Hannah's trial. I think it could cut both ways. It's going to really be dependent on which jurors are selected. And as in any trial, I think you're going to have to be very careful in jury selection.
And one more final question. We have only about 15 seconds left. Do you think generally prosecutors are getting much more aggressive in going after accidental behavior and applying criminal liability to it?
I do, and that's a real danger, Vinny. I mean, you get medical malpractice. Errors occur all the time. Do we want to start prosecuting doctors and nurses in New Mexico? Do we want to run the whole film industry out of this state? A very big part of the state, just for mistakes, for accidents? I think it's a terrible precedent, very bad precedent.
Well, Jason Bowles, we appreciate you being very generous with your time tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.